Pink Angel Phoenix, local LGBT advocate, and also local customer service critic, and also advocate for disabled parking spaces. And what I mean by that is I am a 52-year-old female. I am not a bra, uh, sir, dude, none of that. So if you all please abide by the community guidelines, I will not allow harassment or bullying. I will not allow hate speech of any kind. So if you're watching this later, and also please no trolls because I'm not going to allow that. If I think that your comment is discriminating or rude in any way, it will be removed or reported, just so you all know. The Charlie Kirk thing, first of all, I haven't gone out today. I've been home all day, and I just sent my spouse out for something to do a couple errands for me. Um, and yeah, I didn't go out today, so I didn't get any content. So I'm going to go down here and talk about some content. But I will be filming probably tomorrow uh, or the next day uh, when I go to uh, Quick Trip store. The Quick Trip store I usually go to is 24th Street McDowell, but I never know when I'm gonna go there. Whether it could be late at night, it could be during the day. I don't know. I don't have a set time I go. But wherever I go, I want to ask everybody here that if you do not have a plate a or placard to please have a heart and not to park in please do not park in a handicapped space. Me as a 52-year-old female, sometimes I go to places and I'm not able to park in those places because somebody uh, that doesn't have a plate or placard parks in there. And I ran, hello, hope everybody's doing well. I was at a convenience store the other day and realized there was somebody. I don't understand Echo Live Africa TV. Also, if you're coming in here, please speak English. I don't understand Spanish uh, or anything from Africa or anything other than English. And please be kind. No nasty comments. No uh, LGBTQ jokes. No bullying or harassment while I'm on live, please. 52-year-old female here. So what I'm talking about is I am physically disabled. I have a prosthetic on my right leg, and due to a distracted driver in the city I live in the state. And what happened was, hello, Echo Live. So I talk about a lot about disabled parking spaces, and some of you, I guess, you don't care, don't have, you have a cold heart. and you'll park in there whether you have one or not. Um, I've even heard reasons that they weren't thinking about it. They parked in there, went inside the local convenience store to park to get a candy bar up front. And that really doesn't make sense. There's no, if you look in the statutes for ARS, there is nothing. If you look at ARS 2883 and 2884, uh, the only reason they give would be to drop someone off, but it has to be quick. You can't be there for an hour. Uh, you can't go in and help somebody who's disabled if you're parked. Wow, Nick, you're calling me a smuck? I'm not a smuck. So what was the smuck about? I just said in my entry that so Nick, if you weren't calling me a smuck, then what was that with a question mark? I just said in the beginning, I believe I stated that there was no bullying or harassing in here or no hate speech. Okay. Anyway, for those of you that are still in here, if you want to listen, and that's fine, but you can say hi, but I ask that you do not bully or harass or hate speech. So, thank you for the likes. So, what I was talking about before I got set up by Nick? He said he wouldn't call me a smuck, but I don't know if that's true. Anyway, yeah, if you look at the statutes for ARS, um, they state that you have to have a parking, you have to have a symbol on your plate, or you have to have a placard. I've got both. And there is no exception for not having the plate or placard on your car. You are not supposed to park there if you don't have those for a disability. So if you park in a handicap and you're not disabled, and some disabilities can be not seen, but you still need to have something in your vehicle to show that. So um, if you're going to put in a disabled space, uh, please have a disability insignia on your plate or one or a placard. Look at ARS 2883 and 2884. I've been dealing with um, blocking access, Nick. Are you talking about disabled parking spaces or? Are you referring to disability access points? Well, the way I've seen most people to deal with it ends up using a physical confrontation. And as a 52-year-old female, I'm not going to create a conflict over that to where it would get physical. But I think they have security there. I think if somebody does not appreciate that it's physically disabled, that is going to block access and does not have a insignia on their plate or a placard, I think that the staff inside like a Quick Trip or any place of business should be notified. And sometimes you can tell staff and they don't care. Uh, they'll tell you one thing and do another. But I've witnessed a late at night around 12 p.m. at a Quick Trip, uh, and I saw a couple where the female was actually disabled and she was on a trike, and the person parked there didn't have anything in their car showing they were disabled. Now it turns out that they were disabled, but this guy got out and just started screaming and yelling at the spouse. And me being a female, I just kind of sit there and watched it. And then I videotaped the whole thing because I was on my mode of transportation. And when the cops got there, they wanted to talk to us and the couple that was involved. And the police officers didn't really know the statutes. They knew of them, but when you asked them a question, they kind of sidebarred it. And I think that when people don't park, if they don't have a disability placard, because some disabilities are um, you can't see them; they're not physical. And all I'm saying is, for people that want to park in there, I've seen people go into businesses and not have a plate or placard, an insignia for the plate or the placard. And all I'm asking as a 52-year-old female is to have a little respect for those that are disabled. If you're going to start to park in the handicap and you don't have a plate or placard, just move over so that someone else can park there that might need it. Because I've been to places where I can't get because somebody else parked in there does not have an insignia on their plate or a placard. And so someone like me comes along and I'm not able to park in there and yet I'm disabled. So I have to park further down and I have to walk further. Which, yes, Nick, wow, that's what I say too. But as soon as the biggest thing is when you pull out a camera, people start telling you you can't film them, that you need their permission. And I've looked at the statutes, and you don't need permission from anybody to film them. If I wanted to go downtown and take a picture of a building because I like the architecture, I can do that because I can see the building and you can't trespass the eyes. So I have done some homework on this to make sure that, you know, I don't get myself in trouble. But at the same time, if people are going to park in a space, they either don't care or they don't have a heart. My question to those people are, if you're unable to park somewhere else, if other than a handicap, if you don't have a handicap insignia on your plate or a placard, why, if you had someone in your family that was disabled, would you be that cold-hearted if they were with you and you pulled up in a space or started to, and someone else that didn't have a plate or placard? was parked in that spot, how would you feel if your family member was disabled, yet you yourself have parked there and didn't care or didn't pay attention or whatever? So all I'm asking as a 52-year-old female is to have a little heart. If park in another spot. Most others that are not physically disabled can actually walk pretty far if they're in good shape. I've seen some that are not in the best of shape, but they can still make it. May take them a little bit, but it just depends. Yes, thank you for the likes. I appreciate that. So that's all I'm saying is if you uh, but there's always somebody with a camera out there watching. As soon as you leave your house, you're being recorded, and everybody flips out when they see a camera, phone camera, GoPro, whatever. I have cameras with me, but I record when I go inside. But I don't sit there for an hour and a half. I go in, I do what I gotta do. If something does happen, or good or bad, I prefer to catch the good because that's what I prefer. But um, as a 52-year-old female, I also ride a motorcycle, a trike, because I'm disabled. So when I go in places, I do film my road trips on my GoPro, and sometimes I don't always turn off my GoPro when I go into a business. And then when I get home, I go through it and I realize that I captured the ride plus the store I went into, but I'm not in there to find out any kind of documentation. I'm not there to cause an issue. Um, if I'm thinking about it, I'm usually looking for vehicles that are parked in spaces that don't have a plate insignia or a placard, that are parked in a handicap. Now, I've been told by corporate on several different businesses like Quick Trip and stuff that I can always go tell the staff. And there's one Quick Trip 24th Street McDowell that I know that I think is the manager there. I've talked to before, and I've let him know what I'm doing, and I've advised him that I'm not going to be hanging out there for an hour and a half. But I do say one thing, and that is that um, I like QT's drinks and their products, and their food is better than most. So if we're there, we might spend 20, maybe 30 minutes eating the food before we take off in the parking lot. But we don't hang out just to be hanging out. There's a lot of homeless people that gather around the stores too, so you have to be aware of that. So to answer your question, Nick, uh, if I thought, I guess if I think or feel that the person might know they're not supposed to park there, or they act like they don't care, I might say something to security or staff, but I would not do it to start an argument. My videos I do on this channel when I'm out in public are for awareness and education. I don't get paid for doing videos. I've just started doing lives, although I get a lot of people in here that call me sir, dude, bro, brah. I'm not a guy. Never have been. I'm a 52-year-old female, and for whatever reason, people come in here and try to, post negative comments, hate speech, and harassment and bullying. And my channel is not about that. My channel is about all topics, including LGBT topics. and it's a safe space for those that are part of the LGBT community here where I live and abroad. But so if I thought instead of creating a instead of going up to the person and just going off, I would probably say, hey, there's a car parked in a handicap didn't have a insignia for disability either on the plate or the uh, rearview mirror. I'd probably report it, not just to be reporting it, but if I pull up to a business and somebody else who's not does not have a insignia on the plate or a placard in the car or some kind of paperwork, uh, I've heard that people like to steal those disability tags from the window, and if that happened, I think you can go to DMV and get probably a paper with that number on it, something, and then you need to display that in your on your dash in your window inside your car. Yeah, you have to have something to show that you have reason to park. So if I guess if I thought if the person didn't have an insignia and a placard, more than likely I'd probably tell staff or security that there is a vehicle or ask to speak to a supervisor. But I would never, because I've seen people approach people that park in disability handicaps, and it usually ends up being a scrimmage match or sometimes physical, and people get hurt that way. And me being a 52-year-old female, I'm not going to do that. But I would take the proper steps to let the staff or somebody in the store know that there is a vehicle that is parked where it should not be. And I've talked with several businesses and corporate headquarters on this issue, and I don't feel the police are doing enough. I've never seen anybody get a ticket for it. Now, I've been told there are people that have gotten tickets for it, but I have not witnessed that. So I don't know if they're actually telling me the truth or if they're just telling me what I want to hear. Um, but I think it needs to be enforced. And even if a person parks there for 5 or 10 minutes, what I say is the way I feel, I think that they should still get a ticket for parking there in the first place. It's just like if you ran a red light here where I live and a cop sees you and pulls you over for it. They're not going to say, oh, we're going to give you a warning. No, they're going to give you a ticket because you ran a red light. And you could have been in an accident. You could have caused an accident for that. So I think the same scenario should apply for parking in a disabled. You've got somebody who's not disabled, or if they are, they don't have a plate or placard insignia on the plate or a placard in the window, and they're parked in a handicap. And they might be in there for 15, 20 minutes or whatever. I still think they should get a ticket for that. I have tried to tell officers here where I live that uh, people are parked in there, and they tell me they're not going to give that person a ticket. Why not? They're parked there. They don't have a plate or placard. I'm physically disabled, and I have to park on the other side, which I can do if I need to. I just don't feel that it's fair. Whereas I have a disabled plate and a disabled disability placard from the DMV that was issued to me. I had to go to the doctor and get the do all that, and then the doctor gave it to the. I had to take it back to the DMV, and then they issued me the plate placard. So I actually went through and did it the correct way. So yeah, I guess if somebody was parked there, somebody should alert because you get tickets for everything else, running a red light, causing an accident. There's no cop or anybody that's going to say, "Oh, that's okay," we'll just give you a warning. No, if you cause an accident or they witness something you're doing wrong, they're going to give you a ticket. Same should apply to the disabled parking spaces. So yeah, Nick, to answer your question, yes, I think that if I thought the person knew they didn't have a plated placard, uh, I would never approach them because I've seen that go bad. I've witnessed people getting verbal altercations. I've witnessed people make scenes over it, and they're actually being challenged about it. But that's the way people are, I guess. Sometimes I don't know, but all I'm asking is, as a 52-year-old female, that those of you, when somebody's disabled and you feel you need to park in a handicapped space without a plate or placard, take a moment and ask yourself, if I had a family member that was disabled, would I feel this way then? But would I not give a crap about them? Would I say I don't care and just pull up anywhere and let them out? They may not be able to walk as far depending on their injury. So I'm just asking everybody that if you want to park in a place that is designed for disability people and you're not disabled and you have no plate or placard, then yeah, somebody should report you for, or let the staff know, because sometimes others may not care, others may be cold-hearted, and as a 52-year-old female, I can't walk as far. I've tried to, and I've fallen down because I've had to. It takes me a while to get to the place, to the front door, and then because somebody else is parked. Now, sometimes what I'll do is I'll wait. I won't wait for very long. But, if I'll try to wait to see who comes out, gets in the vehicle, and takes off, and that's it. And then I'll park my vehicle or whatever I'm driving that day. But I'm not gonna approach the person because a lot of times it gets into a screaming match in the parking lot, and then a bunch of slurs get thrown around, and sometimes hate speech gets thrown in there along with verbal. So yeah, I think if I knew somebody was parking in a space and they knew they weren't supposed to park there, they could make every excuse in the world. There's no excuse for parking in a handicap if you don't have a handicap plate or placard on your vehicle in Arizona. So yeah, I would, simply for the fact that I'm disabled. I can get around better than I did when I first got out of the hospital and got out of the facility, but I would definitely report someone to the staff or to security. And that's why when I go anywhere, I have my cameras on, because I want to have proof that they were parked there and there's no plate or placard. I'm not that I don't need their information, like where they live and all that crap. I show there's no insignia on the plate and there's nothing, and I don't need to I don't approach the car. I can stand back several feet and do that. So anyway, have a heart. I'm going to close this right now. Thank you for the likes. I'll see everybody on the next one. Pink Angel, 52-year-old female. Pink Angel Phoenix out.